For millennia, the echoes of forgotten empires have whispered tales of wisdom lost to time, of technologies perhaps far beyond our understanding of their era. We marvel at monumental structures, intricate engineering, and profound astronomical knowledge, yet a tantalizing question persists. Did ancient civilizations, thousands of years before the Industrial Age, truly harness the invisible power of electricity? Tonight we embark on an extraordinary journey to unearth these enduring mysteries. From the arid sands of Mesopotamia, where an unassuming clay pot sparks debate among historians and engineers, the enigmatic Baghdad Battery, to the hallowed darkness of Egyptian temples, where elaborate carvings seem to depict a glowing, elongated bulb, the controversial Dendera Light. Are these mere ceremonial objects, misinterpreted symbols, or definitive proof of a lost science, an advanced understanding of energy that reshapes our entire perception of history? Through meticulous scientific investigation, rigorous archaeological context, and insightful cultural interpretations, we will delve into the very heart of these claims. We'll recreate experiments, consult leading experts, and scrutinize every piece of evidence, challenging assumptions and separating fact from fervent speculation. Prepare to navigate a world where history meets cutting-edge science, where the past still holds secrets that could illuminate our future. Join us as we explore ancient energy devices, batteries, or myths, unearthing lost tech and enduring mysteries. For millennia, humanity has gazed upon the remnants of ancient civilizations, marveling at their monumental achievements while simultaneously grappling with profound enigmas. From the colossal pyramids of Giza to the intricate celestial calendars of the Maya, these relics whisper tales of ingenuity, yet often leave us with more questions than answers. There is an almost primal fascination with the idea that our ancestors, seemingly primitive by modern standards, might have possessed knowledge, technologies, and understandings that have since been lost to the relentless march of time. It's a belief that transcends cultures and centuries, a persistent whisper that perhaps, just perhaps, history is not as linear as we've been taught, and that sparks of incredible innovation once illuminated a world we're only now beginning to reimagine. This enduring allure is rooted in the very human desire to unravel the unknown, to peer beyond the veil of accepted history, and discover truths that could fundamentally alter our perception of human progress. We see complex carvings that defy simple explanation, structures built with a precision that still baffles engineers, and texts hinting at scientific understanding far beyond what conventional archaeology attributes to their era. Could these not be mere coincidences or symbolic gestures, but rather echoes of a forgotten age of advancement? Could the wisdom of these ancient peoples extend to realms we consider exclusively modern, realms of energy, power, and perhaps even electricity? This documentary embarks on a journey into that tantalizing possibility. We are drawn to these mysteries not out of a desire to rewrite history capriciously, but out of a profound curiosity, a drive to test the boundaries of what we think we know. We ask, what if the legends of ancient power sources are more than just myths? What if the incredible structures and awe-inspiring feats of engineering point to a practical application of principles we're only now rediscovering? This section sets the stage for a critical investigation, inviting you to suspend disbelief, to open your mind to the whispers from the past, and to consider whether the greatest discoveries are not always ahead of us, but sometimes buried beneath centuries of sand and forgotten knowledge. As we delve into the possibility of ancient energy, it becomes crucial to establish a framework for what we're actually searching for. In our modern world, the term energy device immediately conjures images of power grids, batteries, solar panels, and intricate circuitry, all components of an electrical age. But to impose such a narrow, anachronistic definition on antiquity would be to miss the very essence of potential discovery. We must liberate our understanding from the confines of contemporary technology and consider a broader spectrum of possibilities. What did power mean to civilizations thousands of years ago? How would they have understood, harnessed, or even conceptualized it. For the purposes of our investigation, an ancient energy device isn't necessarily a precise equivalent of a lithium-ion battery or a hydroelectric dam. Instead, we define it as any mechanism, structure, or system developed by ancient peoples, designed to generate, store, or utilize a form of power or force beyond simple manual labor or direct combustion. This could range from devices producing a measurable electrical current, however small, to systems harnessing pneumatic or hydraulic pressure, or even utilizing sophisticated optics to concentrate solar energy. It encompasses anything that suggests a deliberate, controlled application of a non-muscular or non-thermal force for a specific purpose, be it illumination, plating, healing, or mechanical advantage. This expanded definition allows us to examine artifacts and architectural anomalies with fresh eyes, stripping away our modern biases. It challenges us to look beyond the obvious and consider the ingenuity of minds working with vastly different material constraints and scientific paradigms. Were there alchemical processes that produced energy? Did early understanding of magnetism play a role? By broadening our scope, we can more effectively evaluate the evidence surrounding controversial artifacts, like the Baghdad Battery and the so-called Dendera Light, not just against the strictures of modern electrical engineering, but within the context of what ancient innovation might have truly looked like. It's about understanding the potential for a different kind of sophistication, a lost branch of scientific inquiry. Why do some individuals and entire schools of thought find themselves compelled to challenge the established narratives of history? What drives the relentless quest for evidence of advanced scientific understanding in antiquity, even when it flies in the face of mainstream archaeological consensus? The spark of inquiry often ignites from a fundamental dissatisfaction with incomplete answers, from anomalies that don't quite fit neatly into the conventional timeline of human development. It's born from the realization that history, as taught, is often a tapestry woven with threads of interpretation, and sometimes those interpretations leave gaping holes. For many, the sheer scale and sophistication of ancient constructions, the perfectly aligned megaliths, the impossible precision of stonework, the astronomical knowledge embedded in structures like Stonehenge or Göbekli Tepe, hint at something more than rudimentary tools and brute force. They suggest an understanding of engineering, mathematics, and physics that should, by our current historical models, have taken millennia longer to develop. This discrepancy fuels the alternative researchers, the rogue archaeologists, and the dedicated enthusiasts who believe that significant chapters of human history have either been overlooked, misinterpreted, or deliberately suppressed. This drive isn't about mere contrarianism. It's about a deep intellectual curiosity and a commitment to pushing the boundaries of historical understanding. It's about asking, what if, when confronted with perplexing evidence, and then meticulously seeking to answer that question through experimentation, re-examination of artifacts, and cross-disciplinary studies. These individuals argue that orthodox archaeology, while vital, can sometimes become too entrenched in its own paradigms, resistant to data that challenges its foundational assumptions. The quest for ancient energy devices, therefore, becomes a symbol of this larger movement, a tangible manifestation of the desire to uncover the true scope of human ingenuity across the ages, to rewrite the narrative of our past with a bolder, more imaginative pen. It's a willingness to venture into the fringes of accepted knowledge, believing that the greatest truths often lie just beyond the horizon of conventional wisdom. It was in the arid, sun-baked landscape near Baghdad, Iraq, that a seemingly unremarkable discovery would ignite decades of intense debate, challenging the very timeline of technological advancement. The year was 1938, a world on the brink of war, when German archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig, then director of the Iraq Museum, was diligently cataloging artifacts from an excavation site in Kujut Rabua, a small village southeast of the capital. Amidst the clay pots, shards of pottery, and more conventional relics of the Parthian era, Koenig stumbled upon something truly anomalous. His team unearthed a peculiar terracotta jar, approximately 6 inches, 14 centimeters tall, with a narrow neck and a distinctive yellowish clay. It was not its exterior that caught Koenig's keen eye, however, but its unusual internal arrangement. Inside the seemingly ordinary vessel he found a corroded copper cylinder, carefully rolled and soldered, and within that cylinder, an iron rod showing signs of significant deterioration. The assembly was sealed at the top with a bitumen plug, a common sealant in ancient Mesopotamia. This wasn't merely a storage jar or a decorative piece. Its construction suggested a functional, deliberate design unlike anything else from the period. Koenig, a meticulous observer, recognized the peculiar combination of materials, dissimilar metals, a contained environment, and what appeared to be remnants of a corrosive agent, immediately raising an intriguing question. He speculated, with a boldness that would echo through history, that this strange artifact might have served not as a mundane household item, but as an ancient galvanic cell, a primitive form of electric battery. It was an audacious claim, pushing the origins of electrical understanding back by millennia, long before Alessandro Volta's 1800 invention of the modern battery. The Baghdad Battery, as it would come to be known, was pulled from the earth, a silent testament to a potential lost technology, waiting for modern minds to decipher its enigmatic purpose. Its discovery was not a dramatic explosion of light, but a quiet academic uncovering that would nonetheless spark a charged controversy. To truly appreciate the audacious hypothesis surrounding the Baghdad Battery, we must dissect its anatomy, piece by intricate piece. Far from being a random collection of objects, its components reveal a deliberate and precise assembly, designed for a specific function. At its core, the artifact is a modest terracotta jar, standing roughly 14 centimeters, about 5.5 inches tall. Its unglazed, yellowish-gray clay is typical of Parthian pottery, but its internal structure is anything but ordinary. Nested snugly within this outer ceramic casing is the first key component, a cylinder crafted from pure copper. This cylinder, meticulously hammered and rolled, measures approximately 3.8 centimeters, 1.5 inches, in diameter and varies in height, fitting neatly inside the jar with a small gap between the copper and the clay walls. Its seams are sealed with a lead-tin alloy solder, demonstrating a level of metallurgical skill that ensured the cylinder was a sealed, self-contained unit. The precision of this construction is remarkable, indicating a clear purpose beyond simple containment. And then, at the heart of the copper cylinder lies the third crucial element, an iron rod. This rod, likely forged, is suspended in the center of the copper tube. Its exact length varies slightly among the few examples found, but it generally extends just beyond the bottom of the copper cylinder, without touching it, and protrudes slightly from the top. The top of the rod is encased in a bitumen plug, which not only sealed the mouth of the jar, holding the copper cylinder and iron rod in place, but also would have insulated the two metals from direct contact at the top, ensuring their electrical separation. This careful arrangement, a clay jar, a copper cylinder, and iron rod, all meticulously assembled and sealed with bitumen, speaks volumes. It's not a haphazard burial, it's a deliberate construction. The choice of two dissimilar metals, copper and iron, separated yet contained within a vessel, is not arbitrary. This particular configuration, as we will explore, forms the fundamental blueprint for a very specific type of chemical reaction, a reaction capable of generating something truly astonishing for its time: electricity. With the intricate anatomy of the Baghdad Battery laid bare, the critical question arises: how exactly would this ancient contraption have functioned as an energy device? The prevailing theory, first put forth by Wilhelm Koenig himself, suggests it operated as a rudimentary galvanic cell, essentially a primitive electric battery. This hypothesis hinges on a fundamental principle of electrochemistry, one that Alessandro Volta would formally demonstrate millennia later: the creation of an electrical current through a chemical reaction involving two dissimilar metals. At the heart of any galvanic cell are two electrodes, made of different metals, immersed in an ion-conducting solution known as an electrolyte. In the case of the Baghdad Battery, the copper cylinder would have acted as one electrode, and the iron rod as the other. When these two metals, with their differing electrochemical potentials, are submerged in an acidic or alkaline liquid, a chemical reaction is initiated. The more reactive metal, in this case iron, begins to oxidize, shedding electrons into the electrolyte. These electrons then travel through the external circuit, if one were connected, to the less reactive metal, copper, where a reduction reaction occurs, consuming the electrons. This flow of electrons from one metal to the other constitutes an electrical current. The electrolyte acts as a medium for ion exchange, completing the circuit internally and sustaining the reaction. Crucially, the bitumen plug on the Baghdad Battery would have served not only to hold the components in place, but also to electrically insulate the copper and iron at the top, preventing a short circuit and ensuring that any current generated would have to flow through an external path if connected. This setup is classic galvanic cell architecture. The voltage produced by such a cell depends on the specific metals used and the strength of the electrolyte. While the output might seem modest by today's standards, perhaps a fraction of a volt or a few volts if multiple cells were connected in series, it would have been more than sufficient for a range of ancient applications that required small, controlled amounts of direct current, applications we are only now beginning to theorize. If the Baghdad Battery was indeed a galvanic cell, then the missing ingredient, the catalyst for that ancient spark, would have been an electrolyte. For the chemical reaction to occur, the copper and iron needed to be immersed in an ion-conducting liquid. The question then becomes, what readily available acidic or alkaline solutions existed in ancient Mesopotamia that could have served this purpose? The answer reveals a surprisingly wide array of possibilities, demonstrating that ancient peoples had access to common substances capable of fueling such a device. One of the most compelling candidates is vinegar. Derived from fermented fruits or grains, vinegar was a staple in the ancient world, used for food preservation, cooking, and even as a mild antiseptic. Its acetic acid content makes it an effective electrolyte. Another strong contender is grape juice. Mesopotamia was a region rich in viticulture, and grape juice, especially when slightly fermented, would have provided the necessary acidity. The discovery of wine residue in ancient vessels across the region further supports the widespread availability of grape products. Even diluted forms of fermented beverages like beer or wine could have functioned as a weak electrolyte, though vinegar and stronger grape juice are generally considered more efficient. Beyond these, other possibilities exist. Fruit juices from lemons or limes, while perhaps less common in Mesopotamia than grapes, could also serve. Even certain natural mineral solutions, if present in the local water supply, might have contributed. The critical factor is the presence of ions to conduct the electrical charge. The corrosive effects observed on the copper and iron components within the original artifacts lend credence to the idea that some form of acidic liquid was present and active for a prolonged period. The genius, if this hypothesis holds, lies not in synthesizing exotic chemicals, but in recognizing the electrochemical potential within everyday substances. It points to an intuitive, empirical understanding of how materials interact, a form of practical science born from observation and experimentation. The choice of electrolyte would have been a matter of practicality, abundance, and the desired power output, showcasing an unexpected level of ancient scientific literacy. The ultimate test of any scientific hypothesis lies in its ability to be replicated. Since Wilhelm Koenig first proposed the battery theory, countless scientists, electrical engineers, and curious hobbyists around the world have taken up the challenge to build their own versions of the Baghdad Battery and see if it truly works. The results have been nothing short of fascinating, consistently demonstrating that the ancient artifact's design is indeed capable of generating an electrical current. Numerous experiments, starting as early as the 1940s, have meticulously reconstructed the device using period-appropriate materials. These modern replications typically involve a terracotta pot, a copper cylinder, an iron rod, and a bitumen sealant, mirroring the archaeological find. For the electrolyte, experimenters have used various common acidic liquids, most frequently grape juice, vinegar, or even lemon juice. The consistent outcome? A measurable electrical potential. Depending on the specific electrolyte and the purity of the metals, A single Baghdad Battery replica can produce voltages ranging from 0.4 volts to just over 1 volt. While this might seem modest, far less than your standard AA battery, it's crucial to remember the context. This output is certainly enough to perform tasks like mild electroplating, e.g., gold or silver plating small objects onto base metals, stimulate acupuncture points, or even power a very small primitive light source if multiple cells were connected in series to increase the voltage. In 2005, for example, a team from the Discovery Channel's Mythbusters successfully demonstrated that a bank of 10 replicated Baghdad batteries, filled with lemon juice, could produce enough voltage to deliver a noticeable electric shock and even electroplate a small medallion. These modern experiments provide compelling empirical evidence that the Baghdad Battery could have functioned as an electrical device. While they don't definitively prove how or why the ancients used them, they move the discussion beyond mere speculation into the realm of demonstrable possibility, adding significant weight to the battery hypothesis and prompting us to seriously consider the lost technological ingenuity of ancient civilizations. If the Baghdad Battery truly generated an electrical current, the immediate question that follows is, what purpose could such a modest power source have served in the ancient world? Mainstream archaeology often struggles to find a place for advanced technology in periods conventionally understood as pre-industrial. Yet, proponents of the battery theory offer compelling, if speculative, answers. One of the most frequently cited possibilities is electroplating. Imagine the artisans of ancient Mesopotamia, renowned for their intricate metalwork and dazzling jewelry. Applying a thin, precious layer of gold or silver to a less noble metal, like copper or bronze, would have been a significant technological leap. While gilding with mercury amalgam was known, electroplating offers a superior, more durable finish. A small current could have facilitated this process, transforming ordinary objects into dazzling treasures, perhaps even producing the gleaming ornaments found in royal tombs. Beyond aesthetics, some theorize medical applications. Ancient texts describe various forms of folk medicine, including the use of electric fish for pain relief, a rudimentary form of electrotherapy. Could the Baghdad Battery have been employed in a similar fashion? A mild electrical current, applied to the body, might have been used to numb pain, treat certain ailments, or stimulate muscles. While no direct evidence supports this, the concept isn't entirely alien to ancient medical practices. Another intriguing, albeit controversial idea suggests ritualistic uses. In societies steeped in mystery and divine intervention, a device capable of producing an unseen force, a spark or tingle, could have been interpreted as miraculous. Perhaps priests used it to electrify cult statues, create startling effects during ceremonies, or imbue sacred objects with perceived divine power. The very mystique of electricity, even in a small dose, could have been a powerful tool for religious leaders, enhancing the awe and reverence of their congregations. From powering a modest light source in a darkened chamber to creating a sense of divine touch, the imaginative possibilities are vast. This takes us beyond purely practical considerations and into the realm of human perception and belief, suggesting that technology wasn't always just about efficiency, but also about wonder and control. Of the many proposed uses for the Baghdad Battery, the electroplating theory stands out as one of the most compelling and actively debated. It directly links the device to known ancient craftsmanship and offers a practical, albeit revolutionary, solution to a long-standing challenge in metallurgy. For millennia, artisans perfected techniques to enhance the appearance of their creations, and applying a thin, precious layer of one metal onto another was a pinnacle of this craft. Traditional ancient gilding methods were labor-intensive and often involved mercury amalgam. This process was dangerous, requiring skilled hands to apply a paste of mercury and gold onto a surface, then heating it to evaporate the mercury, leaving the gold behind. The results, while beautiful, could be uneven, and the toxicity of mercury posed significant risks to the craftsman. Enter the Baghdad Battery. If it could generate even a small, consistent current, it would have offered a cleaner, potentially safer, and more precise method of applying metal coatings. Archaeological evidence certainly points to ancient cultures creating gilded objects. From Roman-era silverware coated with gold to various bronze artifacts adorned with thin metallic layers, the desire to make objects appear more valuable was universal. However, definitively proving that these were electroplated rather than mercury-gilded or foil-wrapped has been difficult. Modern scientific analysis can sometimes distinguish between different gilding methods, but the techniques are complex. Researchers like Dr. Paul Kaiser from the University of Arizona have even conducted experimental archaeology, successfully recreating electroplating using a replica Baghdad Battery and grape juice as an electrolyte, demonstrating that the process is indeed possible with the materials available at the time. The ability to electroplate would have been a game-changer, not only for aesthetics but potentially for preserving less corrosive metals. Imagine common iron tools coated with a thin layer of copper to prevent rust, or elaborate silver jewelry given a golden sheen without the immense cost of solid gold. While direct proof remains elusive, the tantalizing possibility that the Baghdad Battery was a precursor to modern electroplating continues to fuel the imaginations of historians and scientists alike, suggesting an advanced practical application lost to time. The electroplating theory, while fascinating, confronts a monumental challenge that plagues all: ancient electricity hypotheses. The striking absence of corresponding archaeological evidence for the larger infrastructure electricity demands. A battery, no matter how ingenious, is only one component of a functional electrical system. Where are the wires? Where are the conducting materials to transmit this current? Where are the switches, insulators, or any indication of circuits designed to deliver power to a specific application? If ancient Mesopotamians possessed a device capable of generating electricity, even a small amount, we would expect to find some trace of the associated technologies necessary to use it. Metals like copper and bronze were abundant and well known, ideal for crafting wires. Yet, no ancient wires, insulated or otherwise, have ever been unequivocally discovered in conjunction with the Baghdad Battery or any other ancient site suggesting widespread electrical use. Imagine a modern battery without cables to connect it, or a light bulb without wiring to power it. The very idea seems absurd. Archaeological records provide detailed insights into ancient plumbing, sophisticated irrigation systems, intricate road networks, and elaborate construction techniques. These infrastructures leave indelible marks on the landscape and in the archaeological record. But for electricity, there is only silence. No evidence of workshops dedicated to producing conducting wires, no discarded insulating materials like resin or bitumen, and certainly no power distribution grids, however rudimentary. The absence of these crucial components forms a significant barrier to the battery theory's acceptance by mainstream academia. While some suggest that these materials might have simply degraded over millennia, or that wires were made of perishable organic materials, this argument often falls flat when considering the durability of other ancient artifacts. Copper, for example, survives remarkably well in many archaeological contexts. The sheer lack of nominee corroborating evidence for a systemic application of electrical power beyond the isolated battery itself forces many to conclude that its electrical potential, if any, was either never exploited or was confined to a single, perhaps misunderstood, experimental curiosity. The mystery surrounding the Baghdad Battery deepens when we consider its apparent singularity. To date, only one definitive artifact matching the description of the Baghdad Battery has been unearthed. This raises a profound question. Was it a unique anomaly, an isolated experiment, or a single survivor of a lost, widespread technology? The answer dramatically impacts our interpretation of its significance. If the Baghdad Battery was truly a functional power source, designed for practical applications like electroplating or medical treatments, one might reasonably expect to find more examples. Technologies that prove useful tend to be replicated, refined, and adopted across societies. Yet for all the archaeological treasures uncovered in Mesopotamia, not another battery, has surfaced with comparable features and clear intent. This makes it difficult to classify it as a true technology in the sense of a widely adopted and understood tool. Some argue that other batteries might exist, simply unrecognized or misidentified. Perhaps variations in design were not obvious to early archaeologists, or some components deteriorated beyond recognition. But without further examples, the one-off argument gains considerable weight. Could it have been the pet project of a single eccentric inventor, a fleeting curiosity never fully integrated into the broader culture? Or perhaps it was a highly specialized, sacred object, created only rarely for specific, esoteric rituals, making its scarcity understandable. Consider the implications. If it was a singular discovery, its potential electrical properties might have been accidental, or its use confined to a very small secretive group. It may have been more of an interesting phenomenon than a practical device ready for mass production. Its very uniqueness, while enhancing its mystique, simultaneously undermines claims of a lost ancient electrical civilization. Without a chorus of similar finds, the Baghdad Battery remains a solo performer on the stage of ancient technology, leaving us to wonder if its potential was ever truly realized or merely glimpsed by those who crafted it millennia ago. While the allure of an ancient battery is undeniable, many archaeologists and historians remain unconvinced, offering simpler, more mundane explanations for the Baghdad Battery. These alternative theories suggest that the object's form and composition, while peculiar, do not necessarily point to an electrical function. Instead, they ground the artifact firmly within the known cultural and technological context of ancient Mesopotamia, without invoking advanced, lost science. One of the most prominent alternative interpretations is that the jar served as a storage vessel, specifically for sacred scrolls or papyri. The copper cylinder, which runs down the center, could have been a convenient way to keep a rolled document compact and protected within the clay jar. The bitumen plug would have sealed the vessel, creating a moisture-resistant environment, ideal for preserving valuable texts. The Dead Sea Scrolls, for instance, were found stored in clay jars, demonstrating that such practices were indeed common in antiquity. The iron rod could have been simply a decorative element, a means to suspend the scroll, or even a handle for extraction. The absence of associated wires or a circuit further supports this non-electrical interpretation. Another theory posits its use as a ritual object, perhaps a container for magical powders, herbs, or libations. Its unique construction could have been symbolic, imbued with spiritual significance rather than practical utility. In a world where objects were often crafted for their perceived magical properties or ceremonial importance, a vessel like the Baghdad Battery might have held a specific role in a religious rite, its form dictated by tradition or esoteric belief rather than scientific principle. Some even suggest it might have been used for holding pigments. Given the residue found in some similar ancient vessels, the bitumen, instead of acting as an insulator, could have simply been a sealant for practical storage. These theories do not require a leap of faith into unknown technologies. Instead, they explain the artifact using established archaeological precedents and an understanding of ancient daily life and belief systems. For many, the simplest explanation, one that aligns with existing knowledge, is often the most probable. The precise age of the Baghdad Battery is as debated as its function, and this chronological conundrum significantly impacts its interpretation. Discovered without meticulous archaeological documentation, its dating relies primarily on stylistic comparisons with other artifacts found in the general vicinity, placing it broadly within two major historical periods: the Parthian 250 BCE to 224 CE, or the Sasanian 22465 OCE eras. The difference of a few centuries might seem minor, but in the context of technological development, it is profound. If the battery dates to the earlier Parthian period, it represents an astonishingly early example of potential electrical technology, predating many accepted scientific milestones by hundreds, if not thousands, of years. The Parthian Empire was a formidable power, blending Hellenistic, Persian, and local traditions, known for its cavalry and complex political structures, but not typically for advanced scientific experiments in electromagnetism. A battery from this period would force a radical reevaluation of ancient capabilities and their understanding of the natural world. However, if it belongs to the later Sasanian period, the implications shift. The Sasanian Empire, successor to the Parthians, was a powerful, sophisticated civilization with advancements in science, medicine, and engineering, influenced by both Eastern and Western knowledge. A battery from this era, while still remarkable, would be situated in a period more conducive to scientific inquiry and technological innovation, making its existence slightly less anachronistic. Yet, even within the Sasanian context, it would remain an isolated and unexplained marvel. The uncertainty surrounding its exact date makes it challenging to anchor the artifact within a firm cultural and technological framework. Without a precise historical context, scholars are left to speculate, drawing parallels that might be tenuous. Was it a lone genius's experiment during a period of relative peace? Or a forgotten technology from a culture yet to be fully understood? The lack of definitive dating not only frustrates our understanding of the battery itself, but also leaves a significant gap in our knowledge of ancient Mesopotamian scientific achievements, keeping the door open for both the mundane and the revolutionary interpretations. Our journey through the enigmatic world of ancient energy now takes us from the arid plains of Mesopotamia, home to the perplexing Baghdad Battery, to the lush banks of the Nile, where another colossal mystery awaits. We leave behind the subtle potential of a humble clay pot and turn our gaze towards the monumental, awe-inspiring temples of ancient Egypt, a civilization whose ingenuity continues to astound us millennia later. Here, within the sacred confines of the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, a set of controversial carvings has ignited a similar debate to that of the Baghdad Battery. While the Mesopotamian artifact hints at a small, localized power source, the so-called Dendera Light suggests something far grander, far more integrated into the very architecture of a holy site. These aren't isolated jars, but intricately carved reliefs, seemingly depicting strange bulb-like objects connected to power sources and cables, held aloft by figures, and terminating in what some interpret as electrical fittings. For decades, these carvings have fueled the imagination of researchers and alternative historians, who argue they are visual proof of advanced electrical technology, perhaps even giant light bulbs, illuminating the dark chambers of the temple. Mainstream Egyptology offers radically different interpretations, rooted in religious symbolism and astronomical knowledge. But the sheer visual impact of these reliefs, their resemblance to modern electrical apparatus, cannot be easily dismissed. Like the Baghdad Battery, the Dendera Light forces us to confront our preconceived notions about ancient capabilities. Did the Egyptians, masters of colossal stonework and intricate hieroglyphs, also possess a hidden understanding of electricity? As we delve into the heart of this mystery, we must approach it with both scientific rigor and an open mind, attempting to decipher what these ancient artists truly intended to portray within the hallowed halls of Dendera. Before we immerse ourselves in the controversial reliefs of the Dendera Light, it is essential to understand the sacred space that houses them, the magnificent Temple of Hathor at Dendera. This awe-inspiring edifice, primarily dating from the late Ptolemaic period, circa 1st century BCE with Roman additions, is not merely a collection of stones, but a meticulously designed cosmic blueprint, a portal to ancient Egyptian religious and astronomical knowledge. Dedicated to Hathor, the revered goddess of love, beauty, motherhood, music, and joy, the temple radiates an aura of profound spiritual significance. Hathor was also intimately linked with the sky, often depicted as a celestial cow, or a woman with cow's horns and a sun disk. Her temple reflects this cosmic connection in every detail, from its grand hypostyle hall with its Hathoric columns, to its inner sanctuaries designed to align with celestial events. The ceilings of Dendera are renowned for their breathtaking astronomical depictions, including the famous Dendera zodiac, a complex star map that once adorned a chapel within the temple. This zodiac, now in the Louvre, offered a detailed representation of constellations and planets, reflecting the Egyptians, advanced understanding of celestial mechanics. It underscores how deeply integrated astronomy was into their religious worldview, serving not just as a calendar but as a divine narrative. Every carving, every architectural feature within this temple tells a story of divine births, cosmic journeys, and the intricate relationship between the earthly pharaoh and the pantheon of gods. To interpret the so-called Dendera Light without this profound context would be a disservice to the ancient Egyptians. Their artistry was rarely purely decorative. It was imbued with layers of symbolism, myth, and a sophisticated understanding of the cosmos. As we venture deeper into its mysterious crypts, we must remember that we are not just observing ancient art, but attempting to decipher a complex tapestry of belief, science, and the very essence of ancient Egyptian spiritual existence. Deep within the hallowed crypts beneath the magnificent Temple of Hathor at Dendera, a silent debate has been etched in stone for millennia. Here, in chambers once accessible only to priests performing sacred rituals, lies one of ancient Egypt's most perplexing mysteries, a series of enigmatic relief carvings that have ignited imaginations and fueled theories of lost ancient technology. As we journey into these subterranean passages, the air thick with history and the faint scent of stone, we encounter imagery unlike almost anything else in the pharaonic canon. Our gaze is drawn to a particular set of reliefs, most notably in the Eastern crypt, depicting human figures, often identified as priests or pharaohs, holding what appear to be enormous bulb-like objects. These bulbs are substantial elongated forms, resembling immense light bulbs or perhaps giant test tubes. From within the translucent-looking confines of these objects, a serpentine form emerges, winding its way from a lotus-like base. The bulb itself often rests upon a pillar, a distinctive architectural element known as a G-jed pillar, and is sometimes depicted with a cable-like line extending from its base. These reliefs are not small, insignificant details. They dominate the walls, commanding attention with their unusual subject matter. Their precise location, deep within the temple's darkest recesses, has only added to their mystique. Why would such peculiar imagery be placed in a crypt dedicated to the creation myths and rebirth rituals of Hathor? What purpose did these bulbs serve, if any, and what knowledge do they encode? For generations, Egyptologists have interpreted these scenes through the lens of religious symbolism, fitting them into the intricate tapestry of ancient Egyptian cosmology. But to a growing chorus of alternative theorists, these carvings tell a very different story. A story of advanced scientific understanding, of an age when electricity might have illuminated the very temples we now explore with modern lighting. The sheer visual impact of these reliefs, particularly to a modern eye accustomed to the sight of electric lamps, makes it an irresistible leap of faith for many. The question becomes, are we witnessing a sophisticated diagram of forgotten technology, or are we simply misinterpreting the profound, multi-layered language of ancient Egyptian sacred art? The deciphering of this stone enigma begins now. The visual similarities between the Dendera reliefs and modern electrical devices are, for many, too striking to dismiss. This leads us directly to the heart of one of the most provocative alternative theories in Egyptology, that these carvings depict ancient electric light bulbs, a testament to a highly advanced, yet subsequently lost, electrical technology in ancient Egypt. Proponents of this Dendera Light theory argue that the imagery is not merely symbolic, but a literal representation of a functioning device, a technological blueprint etched in stone. Consider the elements: the large, sealed glass-like bulb, the internal filament, represented by the snake, and the cable leading from its base, often connected to a power source or insulator, the G-jed pillar. To some, this isn't just a resemblance. It's a direct parallel to a Crookes tube, an early vacuum tube used in the late 19th century to experiment with cathode rays. The way the buck, snake, appears to undulate within the bulb, they suggest, mimics the glowing filament or plasma discharge within an activated vacuum tube. Even the lotus from which the snake emerges is sometimes interpreted as an insulator or an electrode. The implications are profound. If the ancient Egyptians possessed electric lights, it would rewrite our understanding of their scientific capabilities. It would explain how they illuminated the darkest corners of their tombs and temples, often without leaving the soot marks that torches and oil lamps inevitably produce. Imagine the astonishment, the reverence, that such a technology would inspire in a world otherwise lit by fire. For figures like Erich von Däniken, a pioneering author in the ancient astronaut theory, the Dendera Light is prime evidence of advanced knowledge, perhaps even extraterrestrial influence, bestowed upon early civilizations. He and others point to the meticulous detail, suggesting it's more than mere artistic license. It's a diagram. They argue that the very existence of these complex carvings, deep within unlit crypts, necessitates a sophisticated lighting solution, and what could be more elegant than electricity? This theory offers a tantalizing answer to a practical problem, while simultaneously challenging the bedrock assumptions of conventional history. But, as with all revolutionary claims, the burden of proof is immense, and science demands more than just compelling imagery. While the visual parallels of the Dendera Light theory are undeniably captivating, scientific inquiry demands more than compelling imagery. It requires tangible, verifiable evidence. And it is precisely here that the ancient light bulb theory faces its most formidable challenge. The scientific counterpoint is stark and unequivocal. There is simply no corroborating archaeological or textual evidence to support the notion that ancient Egyptians possessed, let alone utilized, electricity. Think about the infrastructure required for an electric lighting system, however rudimentary. You would need conductors, wires, cables made of metal, perhaps copper or gold. You would need insulators beyond just stone. Crucially, you would need power sources, generators, batteries, dynamos, to create the electrical current. Where are these artifacts? Where are the remnants of intricate wiring systems, the melted components, the energy generation facilities? Despite centuries of meticulous archaeological excavation across Egypt, from vast temples to humble dwellings, not a single shred of such evidence has ever been discovered. No electrical cables, no burnt-out filaments, no schematics for power generation beyond this singular, debated carving. The absence of evidence in this context is not merely a detail. It's a gaping chasm in the theory. If a civilization possessed a technology as transformative as electric lighting, it would leave an undeniable footprint across its material culture. We would expect to find tools for electrical engineering, texts describing electrical phenomena, or, at the very least, numerous examples of the light bulbs themselves, perhaps broken or discarded. Instead, we have one set of reliefs, deep within a single temple. Mainstream Egyptology, grounded in empirical data and the vast body of ancient texts and artifacts, views the Dendera Light theory as a classic example of pareidolia, the psychological phenomenon where the mind perceives a familiar pattern, like a light bulb, in a random or ambiguous stimulus. While intriguing, the theory ultimately fails to meet the rigorous standards of archaeological and scientific proof. It asks us to believe in an isolated, sophisticated technology with no demonstrable precursors, no supporting infrastructure, and no continuation in the historical record. Without physical evidence beyond interpretation, the Dendera Light remains an imaginative leap, disconnected from the established scientific understanding of ancient Egyptian capabilities. For Egyptologists, the Dendera Light isn't a secret blueprint for forgotten technology, but rather a profoundly rich expression of ancient Egyptian religious and mythological symbolism. To truly understand these enigmatic reliefs, we must learn to speak the language of ancient Egypt, a language steeped in metaphor, allegory, and complex theological concepts, where every image, every gesture, and every position tells a multi-layered story far removed from literal interpretations. In mainstream Egyptology, The scenes within the Dendera crypts are understood as a depiction of a creation myth, specifically relating to the sun's journey and rebirth, and the temple's patron goddess Hathor. The bulb-like object is most commonly identified as a womb or a cosmic egg from which life and divine power emerge. This interpretation aligns perfectly with the known function of crypts in ancient Egyptian temples, often dedicated to rituals of creation, regeneration, and the mysterious forces of the cosmos. The serpentine form emerging from within is not a filament, but a depiction of a deity, specifically Harsamtus, son of Hathor. His emergence symbolizes creation and renewal, an act of divine birthing from the primordial waters or the cosmic egg. The Djed pillar, supporting this womb, is not an insulator for electricity, but a well-established symbol of stability, endurance, and the backbone of the god Osiris, often associated with regeneration and eternal life. The surrounding hieroglyphs, often overlooked by alternative theorists, provide crucial context. These texts describe the divine processes of creation, the union of gods, and the protective powers associated with the deities depicted. They don't speak of electrical currents or light generation. They speak of divine essence, ritual offerings, and the perpetuation of cosmic order. Ancient Egyptian art rarely sought to depict the mundane or the purely functional in such sacred spaces. Instead, it served as a complex visual theology, a guide to understanding the unseen forces that govern their world, from the cycles of the sun to the mysteries of death and rebirth. To interpret these powerful symbolic images as crude diagrams of forgotten machines is, for many scholars, to fundamentally misunderstand the profound spiritual and intellectual world of the pharaohs. The true language of Dendera is not technological, but mythological, a testament to enduring faith and the cyclical nature of existence. One of the cornerstone elements of the Dendera Light theory is the Djed pillar, often depicted supporting the bulb-like object. To proponents of ancient electricity, this pillar functions as a crucial component, an insulator, or perhaps a stand for the electrical device, providing structural support while preventing unwanted conduction. However, in the rich tapestry of ancient Egyptian mythology and religious iconography, the Djed pillar possesses a far more profound and well-established meaning, one that has been meticulously documented and understood for millennia. The Djed pillar is one of the most ancient and ubiquitous symbols in Egyptian art, appearing as early as the pre-dynastic period. It is unequivocally recognized as a symbol of stability, endurance, and the very backbone of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, resurrection, and fertility. Its origins are often linked to a tree trunk with branches lopped off, evolving into a stylized representation of a column or backbone. When Osiris was dismembered by his jealous brother Set, it was the Djed pillar that became a symbol of his reconstruction and eventual rebirth, signifying the triumph of order over chaos and life over death. Throughout Egyptian history, the Djed pillar was central to many rituals, most notably the raising of the Djed pillar ceremony, performed during the Sed festival of the king. This ritual symbolized the king's enduring reign and the stability of Egypt itself. It was frequently depicted in funerary contexts, placed in tombs and on sarcophagi to ensure the deceased's stability in the afterlife and their successful regeneration. Amulets in the shape of Djed pillars were worn for protection and to bestow qualities of endurance and permanence. When we see the Djed pillar in the Dendera reliefs, supporting the cosmic egg, or womb, from which Harsamtus emerges, its symbolic meaning aligns perfectly with the broader mythological context of the crypt, the stability of creation, the enduring power of rebirth, and the foundational support for divine manifestation. It's a pillar of cosmic order, not an electrical insulator. To strip it of this millennia-old meaning and reinterpret it as a piece of technological apparatus is, for Egyptologists, to ignore a vast body of historical and archaeological evidence in favor of a modern, anachronistic interpretation. The Djed pillar stands as a potent symbol of permanence, not a conduit for transient power. Delving deeper into the symbolic narrative of the Dendera reliefs, we arrive at the identity of the serpentine figure undulating within the bulb. To proponents of the Dendera Light theory, this is the filament, the glowing heart of their ancient electrical device. However, within the intricate pantheon of ancient Egyptian deities, this serpent has a specific and well-documented identity, Harsomptus. Harsomptus, whose name means Horus, uniter of the two lands, or Horus, the young, is a fascinating and significant god, particularly in the later periods of Egyptian history and in the temples of Upper Egypt. He is revered as the son of Hathor, the primary deity of Dendera, and Horus of Edfu, making him a central figure in the temple's theological program. Harsomptus embodies the concept of union, creation, and rebirth, often depicted as a protective snake or cobra, sometimes even with a human head. The imagery of a snake emerging from a lotus flower or a cosmic egg is a powerful and recurrent motif in Egyptian creation myths. The lotus itself symbolizes creation, regeneration, and the rising of the sun from the primordial waters of Nun. When Harsomptus, the divine serpent of creation, is depicted emerging from this cosmic egg or womb-like object, it is a potent visual metaphor for the birth of the sun god, the daily renewal of life, and the cyclical nature of existence. It represents the very act of divine manifestation, the bringing forth of order from chaos. In the context of the Dendera crypts, which were ritual spaces deeply connected to the temple's foundation myth and the concept of divine birth, Harsomptus's presence makes perfect sense. He is a protector god, associated with the rebirth of the king and the perpetuation of divine kingship. His emergence from the womb symbolizes the potentiality of creation, the generative power that ensures the continuation of life and cosmic harmony. To see this profound mythological narrative as a literal depiction of a light bulb filament is to strip away centuries of religious meaning and cultural context, replacing it with a modern interpretation that fails to align with the vast body of Egyptological understanding. The snake in Dendera is not technology, it is divinity, a sacred symbol of life's eternal renewal. If the ancient Egyptians weren't using electric light bulbs, then how did they illuminate the vast, intricate interiors of their temples and the perpetually dark passages of their subterranean tombs? This is a logical and crucial question posed by proponents of the Dendera Light theory, often used to bolster their claims. Yet, the archaeological record provides abundant, unambiguous evidence of highly effective and practical ancient lighting solutions, methods that allowed the Egyptians to build and decorate their monumental structures with precision, even in the deepest darkness. The primary sources of illumination were simple, yet remarkably effective: torches and oil lamps. Torches, made from bundles of reeds soaked in animal fat or resin, would have provided significant, albeit smoky, light. We find numerous depictions of torchbearers in tomb reliefs, and archaeologists have discovered a residue consistent with burning organic materials on the ceilings of some ancient structures. However, it's true that many well-preserved tombs, particularly those with vibrant, intricate paintings, show remarkably little soot accumulation on their ceilings or walls. This observation is often cited as a key piece of evidence against traditional lighting. But the absence of heavy soot doesn't equate to the absence of traditional lighting. Instead, it points to other ingenious solutions. Oil lamps, typically small pottery bowls filled with oil, like castor oil or olive oil, and a linen wick, offered a cleaner, more controlled flame. Thousands of such lamps have been excavated from Egyptian sites, some still containing their wicks or residue. These lamps could be carried, placed on ledges, or hung, providing localized light for artisans and priests. Perhaps the most sophisticated ancient solution involved the use of polished bronze mirrors. These highly reflective surfaces could be strategically positioned to capture sunlight entering through doorways or shafts, and then direct it, bouncing the light deep into interior chambers. This method, while requiring careful alignment, would provide clean, soot-free illumination, explaining the pristine condition of many decorated ceilings. Experiments replicating this technique have demonstrated its viability and effectiveness, showing how a series of well-placed mirrors could indeed light even complex, winding passages without leaving a trace of combustion. So while the Dendera Light offers a speculative, revolutionary answer, the archaeological record and experimental archaeology confirm that the ancient Egyptians possessed a range of practical, well-understood lighting technologies that were entirely consistent with their known scientific and engineering capabilities. They saw by fire, by oil, and by clever manipulation of the sun, not by electricity. Our journey through the mysteries of ancient energy devices, from the Baghdad Battery to the Dendera Light, ultimately brings us back to the bedrock principles of scientific inquiry. When faced with extraordinary claims, science demands extraordinary evidence, and that evidence must adhere to two fundamental pillars: replicability and falsifiability. Replicability asks, can independent researchers repeat an experiment or observation and obtain the same results? In the case of the Baghdad Battery, modern replicas have indeed demonstrated its capacity to generate a weak electric current, thus satisfying the criterion of replicability regarding its potential function. However, for the Dendera Light, there is no physical apparatus to replicate, only an interpretation of an image. One cannot replicate an ancient light bulb from a carving without first fabricating the entire speculative device, which then offers no independent proof of ancient origin. Falsifiability, arguably even more crucial, asks, can a claim be disproven by evidence? A scientific hypothesis must be constructed in such a way that it is capable of being proven false. For example, the hypothesis that ancient Egyptians used electric lights would be falsified by the consistent absence of any electrical components, wiring, power sources, or textual descriptions of electricity across all excavated sites. This is precisely the scientific counter-argument we've explored regarding the Dendera Light. The claim's reliance on interpretation rather than physical evidence makes it difficult to falsify directly, as its proponents can always argue for a different interpretive lens. The scientific method is not about absolute certainty. It's about building knowledge through testable hypotheses, observation, experimentation, and peer review. It's a process of continuously refining our understanding based on the most robust evidence available. When a claim, however intriguing, lacks consistent, independent corroboration and struggles with the principles of replicability and falsifiability, it remains in the realm of speculation rather than established scientific fact. The enduring mysteries of Dendera and the Baghdad Battery continue to fascinate, pushing us to question what we know about the past. But for these tantalizing possibilities to transition from myth to proven history, they must withstand the rigorous scrutiny of the scientific method, a demand for concrete evidence that can be tested, verified, and, crucially, potentially disproven. Until then, these ancient devices will remain compelling enigmas, illuminating not ancient technology, but the persistent human desire to find advanced knowledge hidden in the shadows of the past. From the intriguing ceramic jars of Baghdad to the enigmatic carvings of Dendera, we've journeyed through archaeological sites and scientific tests, seeking answers to profound questions about ancient technology. But as we navigate these ancient mysteries, we must arm ourselves with a fundamental tool of critical thought, Occam's razor. Named after the 14th century Franciscan friar William of Ockham, this philosophical principle, also known as the law of parsimony, posits that when presented with competing hypotheses, the one that makes the fewest assumptions is usually the correct one. It's not a strict law of nature, but a powerful heuristic, guiding us toward elegance and efficiency in explanation. Imagine the Baghdad Battery. One hypothesis suggests it was a sophisticated power source, capable of electroplating or providing therapeutic shock. This theory demands a cascade of assumptions: that the ancients possessed the advanced chemical knowledge for effective electroplating, that they had a need for such a technology, that there existed a wider network of electrical devices or applications for its output, and that all other evidence of these applications has simply vanished. It implies a highly developed electrical infrastructure for which we have no other archaeological trace. No wires, no switches, no widespread application sites. Now, consider the simpler, more parsimonious explanation. The Baghdad Battery served as a storage vessel for sacred scrolls, or perhaps for medical ingredients, where the acid residue was incidental. Another common theory suggests it was a rudimentary device for generating a mild current for folk medicine, a localized curiosity, or even a child's toy. These explanations require fewer leaps of faith. They align more closely with the documented technological capabilities and cultural practices of the Parthian and Sasanian periods, where complex chemical processes for electroplating were largely unknown, but the use of ceramic vessels for storage or rudimentary alchemical experiments was commonplace. The same applies to the Dendera Light. The extraordinary claim is that these carvings depict ancient light bulbs powered by an unseen energy grid, a form of forgotten plasma technology. This hypothesis necessitates the belief in an entire lost science, an advanced civilization that vanished without leaving a single lamp or generator, or even a written description of such a device. In contrast, the simpler explanation, supported by Egyptologists like Dr. J.F. Romano and Dr. E. Hornung, interprets the carvings as symbolic representations of Egyptian mythology, specifically the Djed pillar and a lotus flower, signifying creation and renewal, with a snake emerging, representing the regenerative power of life. These symbols are ubiquitous in Egyptian art, and perfectly consistent with the religious context of the Hathor temple. Occam's razor doesn't demand we reject complexity outright, nor does it stifle innovative thought. Rather, it compels us to scrutinize the foundational assumptions of our theories. It encourages us to exhaust the simpler, more evidence-based explanations before leaping to conclusions that require an entire paradigm shift. In the quest for truth, intellectual honesty often begins with the simplest path. As Occam's razor guides us towards the most straightforward explanations, we inevitably encounter the next critical principle in scientific inquiry, the burden of proof. For theories proposing ancient energy devices, this burden is exceptionally heavy, precisely because the claims themselves are so extraordinary. Carl Sagan, the revered astronomer and science communicator, famously articulated this with his profound dictum, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence." This isn't a dismissal of new ideas, but rather a safeguard against unfounded speculation, a cornerstone of rigorous scientific discourse. Consider the implications of claiming that ancient civilizations possessed electricity. This isn't just a minor technological variation. It's a paradigm-shifting assertion that would fundamentally rewrite our understanding of ancient history, science, and societal development. It would necessitate a complete reevaluation of how these societies functioned, how they produced and distributed power, and why such a transformative technology appears to have vanished without a trace, only to be rediscovered millennia later. Proponents of ancient energy devices often point to isolated artifacts or intriguing interpretations of art. The Baghdad Battery exists, its components are known to produce a voltage, and its presence in an ancient context is undeniable. The Dendera carvings are real, and their visual resemblance to modern light bulbs, however superficial, strikes a chord. But is this extraordinary evidence, a battery capable of generating a mere volt or two, with no clear indication of its purpose beyond isolated curiosity, does not constitute an ancient power grid. A symbolic carving, even one with a coincidental visual resemblance, is not a blueprint or a functional device. We have no ancient wires, no power stations, no consistent depictions of widespread electrical use, no accounts of electricians or electrical engineers in ancient texts. Extraordinary evidence would look different. It would involve the discovery of multiple, unambiguous examples of electrical devices, not just isolated curiosities. It would include integrated power systems, clear indications of practical application in industry, metallurgy, or illumination. We would find consistent patterns of electrical burns, evidence of insulated wiring, or explicit instructional texts detailing the construction and use of these devices. Think of the consistent archaeological record left by the Roman aqueducts or the Egyptian pyramids, massive, undeniable feats of engineering with clear purpose and widespread impact. Where is the equivalent record for ancient electricity? The scientific and archaeological consensus, built on decades of meticulous research and countless discoveries, paints a picture of ancient civilizations as incredibly ingenious, but without the widespread harnessing of electricity as we understand it. To overturn this established understanding, the evidence presented must be so compelling, so unambiguous, and so consistently reproducible that it leaves no room for alternative, simpler explanations. Until such extraordinary evidence emerges, the theories of ancient energy devices remain fascinating conjectures, but nothing more than that. This isn't a rejection born of closed-mindedness, but a commitment to the highest standards of empirical proof, a testament to the scientific virtue of skepticism. Despite the robust application of Occam's razor and the stringent demands of the burden of proof, theories of ancient energy devices continue to captivate the public imagination. The Baghdad Battery, the Dendera Light, and countless other unexplained phenomena persist, thriving in popular culture and online forums. Why do these theories endure even in the face of scientific skepticism and a lack of conclusive evidence? The answer lies not in ancient artifacts, but deep within the human psyche. There's a primal allure to the unknown, a deep-seated human desire for wonder and the magical. In a world increasingly rationalized and explained by science, the idea that ancient civilizations possessed a lost, advanced technology offers a thrilling escape from the mundane. It taps into our inherent romanticism about the past, a yearning for golden ages, where wisdom and technology surpassed our own. It's a seductive narrative. Perhaps our ancestors were far more advanced than we give them credit for, possessing secrets we've only now begun to rediscover. Furthermore, these theories often appeal to a sense of rebellion against established authority. Challenging academic consensus, whether in history or archaeology, can feel empowering. It provides a counter-narrative to what some perceive as a rigid, dismissive scientific establishment. This sentiment is often amplified by the echo chambers of social media and dedicated online communities, where confirmation bias can lead to the selective acceptance of evidence that supports the desired conclusion, while discrediting any contradictory findings. At their core, these enduring mysteries offer a compelling what-if scenario. What if we've been wrong all along? What if there's more to history than the textbooks tell us? This speculative freedom allows for boundless possibilities, often merging with broader conspiracy theories, alien visitation narratives, or tales of a lost, hyper-advanced civilization like Atlantis. These grand narratives provide a sense of meaning, excitement, and even a feeling of being in on a secret that the mainstream won't acknowledge. They offer a simpler, more dramatic story than the painstaking, often incremental progress of real archaeological discovery and scientific explanation. Psychologically, embracing these mysteries can also provide a sense of connection to something larger and more profound than everyday life. It offers an explanation for the seemingly unexplainable, filling gaps in our knowledge with wonder rather than uncertainty. While science thrives on question marks and ongoing inquiry, many prefer the satisfying, albeit unfounded, exclamation point of a definitive, dramatic answer. Ultimately, the enduring appeal of ancient energy devices speaks less to their historical reality and more to our timeless human fascination with secrets, the extraordinary, and the tantalizing possibility that the world is far more mysterious than it appears. As we explore the allure of ancient mysteries, it's crucial to acknowledge a profound truth. Ancient civilizations needed no embellishment to impress. Their genuine achievements, meticulously documented and extensively studied, stand as monumental testaments to human ingenuity, determination, and profound intellectual capacity. While the debate around hypothetical energy devices continues, let us celebrate the verifiable wonders that truly define our ancestors. Legacy. Consider the sheer scale and precision of the Great Pyramid of Giza, constructed over 400 or 500 years ago. An engineering marvel of its time, composed of millions of precisely cut stone blocks, some weighing many tons, transported and lifted with an accuracy that still astounds modern engineers. It stands not as a product of alien technology or lost electrical power, but as a triumph of organization, manual labor, and sophisticated understanding of levers, ramps, and astronomy. Across the globe, the Romans engineered an empire with an infrastructure that would endure for millennia. Their aqueducts, like the Pont du Gard, transported water across vast distances, employing complex understanding of gravity and hydraulics. Their roads, such as the Appian Way, connected their sprawling dominion with unparalleled efficiency, a testament to practical engineering and meticulous planning. These were not built with lasers or plasma torches, but with sweat, stone, and an unwavering commitment to grand vision. Beyond monumental architecture, ancient civilizations made staggering intellectual leaps. The Antikythera mechanism, a Hellenistic Greek device discovered in 1901, is a complex analog computer from the 2nd century BCE. Its intricate gears and dials accurately predicted astronomical positions, eclipses, and even Olympic cycles. It is a masterpiece of clockwork engineering, demonstrating a level of mechanical sophistication not seen again for over 1,000 years, a verified lost technology that actually existed, operating on principles of intricate mechanics, not unknown energy. From the medical innovations of ancient Egypt with figures like Imhotep, to the surgical advancements described by the Indian physician Sushruta in the 6th century BCE, the ancients pushed the boundaries of human knowledge in countless fields. They charted the stars, developed advanced mathematics, created intricate art, and established complex legal and social systems. These are the verifiable, tangible achievements that demand our awe and respect. They required extraordinary intelligence, profound observation, and relentless experimentation, not a hidden power source. To dismiss these known accomplishments in favor of unsubstantiated claims of ancient electricity is to diminish the true genius of our ancestors. Their legacy is not one of secret power grids or alien-gifted technology, but of human resilience, creativity, and an unyielding drive to understand and shape their world with the tools and knowledge available to them. This is the real story of ancient ingenuity, and it is more than enough to inspire wonder. As our journey through the world of ancient energy devices draws to a close, it becomes clear that the value of this exploration extends far beyond the definitive yes or no to whether ancient civilizations had electricity. The debate itself, the questions it raises, and the rigorous methodologies it demands profoundly enrich our understanding of history, science, and the very nature of discovery. This documentary has sought to apply critical thinking to intriguing hypotheses, to differentiate between captivating speculation and concrete archaeological evidence. We've seen how Occam's razor encourages simpler explanations, and how Carl Sagan's dictum demands extraordinary evidence for extraordinary claims. We've also acknowledged the powerful human desire for mystery, and how that fascination, while sometimes leading to unproven theories, is also the very spark that ignites curiosity and fuels the quest for knowledge. The scientific process is not about dogmatic certainty, but about continuous inquiry, hypothesis testing, and a willingness to revise our understanding when new, compelling evidence emerges. While current archaeological and scientific consensus points away from widespread ancient electrical technology, the possibility, however remote, encourages ongoing research. Every new excavation, every reanalysis of an artifact, every advancement in dating or material science brings us closer to a clearer picture of our past. Who knows what future discoveries await in the sands of Egypt or the uncharted depths of ancient ruins? This is not an end, but a continuum. The questions posed by artifacts like the Baghdad Battery and the Dendera Light serve as powerful reminders of the vastness of human history and the limitations of our current knowledge. They compel us to look closer, to ask tougher questions, and to uphold the highest standards of evidence-based reasoning. They challenge us to celebrate the verified, breathtaking ingenuity of our ancestors, while remaining open-minded to new possibilities, but always anchored by empirical proof. The ongoing quest for knowledge is humanity's greatest adventure. It is a testament to our insatiable curiosity, our drive to understand where we come from, and our capacity for critical thought. So whether the Baghdad Battery was a forgotten power source or a simple curio, whether the Dendera Light was an ancient bulb or a mythic symbol, the journey of investigation itself has illuminated something profound: the enduring power of human inquiry, the beauty of scientific skepticism, and the thrilling, never-ending pursuit of truth. Our odyssey through the annals of history and the frontiers of science brings us to a crucial juncture. We've journeyed from the puzzling components of the Baghdad Battery, contemplating its potential as an early electrochemical cell, to the enigmatic carvings of Dendera, where the symbolism of the light sparked visions of ancient illumination. We've weighed the compelling arguments for revolutionary ancient technology against the robust body of archaeological and historical evidence supporting more conventional interpretations. While the allure of lost electrical knowledge is undeniably captivating, our investigation reveals a powerful truth. Despite ingenious reconstructions and passionate advocacy, the prevailing scientific and archaeological consensus, grounded in the meticulous study of available artifacts and texts, finds more probable explanations for these phenomena. The Baghdad Battery, while capable of generating a small current, likely served ritualistic or plating purposes. The Dendera Light, in its intricate context, speaks to profound religious symbolism, not electrical apparatus. Yet this journey is far from a dismissal. Instead, it is a profound celebration of human ingenuity. The documented achievements of ancient civilizations, their pyramids, their aqueducts, their astronomical observatories, are awe-inspiring in their own right, testament to brilliance often overlooked in the quest for the miraculous. Our quest to understand them, driven by insatiable curiosity and the unwavering rigor of the scientific method, continues to illuminate not just their world, but our own. The past, it seems, always has more to teach us,